The October 19th, 2022 meeting of the Ames Planning and Zoning Commission will come to order. The Planning and Zoning Commission is an independent advisory body of the Ames City Council. The Planning and Zoning Commission members are volunteers of the community and not part of the city administration. The Planning and Zoning Commission is supported by staff from the city's planning division. The commission is responsible for recommendations on matters involving subdivisions, annexations, master plans, and major site development plans, amendments to the zoning ordinance, and comprehensive plan amendments. We make our recommendations based on city codes, the facts presented, and input from the public. As an advisory commission, we welcome all comments regarding the proposed items. Please direct your input to the commission. If the proceedings become lengthy, we may ask that comments be focused on new information not previously presented. You may speak only one time on an agenda item. If you wish to speak, please fill out a speaker information card and present it to the recording secretary. We ask that you come to the microphone, state your name and address, and speak so that all comments may be recorded. The order of the proceeding for each item on the agenda will be as follows. First, city staff will present the staff report regarding the agenda item. 2, the commission members will have an opportunity to ask questions of city staff. Third, the applicant will be invited to make a statement regarding the request. 4th, the commission members will have an opportunity to ask questions of the applicant. 5th, the members of the audience will be invited to come forward to offer comments and questions. 6th, once the public comment is closed, city staff and the applicant will have an opportunity for concluding remarks. And lastly, the commission will discuss the application based on all presentations and any comments given and come to a recommendation for the city council. The discussion may include further questions from city staff and the applicant for clarification. And with that, we'll move on to the first agenda item, the introduction of commission members.
Julie Winter.
Mike Sullivan.
John Emery.
Mike Clayton.
Aspen Flans.
Jim Blickenstorff.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is approval of the agenda. And you have it before you. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I move to approve.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve the agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Next is approval of the minutes of October 5th, 2022. And there again, you should have had a chance to take a look at the minutes in your packet. Are there any comments on the minutes or any discussion? Hearing none, I would ask for if there's a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of October 5th, 2022. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Next item of the agenda is the public forum period, and this is set aside for any items that are not on the agenda. Is there anybody in the audience that has an item that they would like to speak about or speak on that is not on the agenda? Okay, seeing none, then I'll close the public forum period. The next item on the agenda is the public hearing for the rezone with master plan for property generally located at the southwest corner of G.W. Carver and Cameron School Road, also known as the Bluffs at Dankbar Farm. You may be aware that our last meeting, this was an agenda item, and the applicant was not ready to make a presentation at that time. And we were asked to extend the comment period through this meeting. They still aren't ready to go.
If I can comment on that.
Okay.
Chair. So, yeah.
Go
So
ahead.
as staff at the last meeting, we said we were still working through specifically the sanitary sewer capacity. That's an issue that was established during the pre-annexation agreement for the property, and it needs to be refined as we get to zoning where there's more specificity. And we've worked with the engineer and our own city engineer, and we have additional data, but it is not finalized yet on how to portray that from a zoning and a land use limitation. So that's why we're again asking for this to be continued. But in this case, we are saying we will send out new notices. They're working towards a resolution of that, but I do not want to continue it to the next meeting again and just keep moving it along. So if it does get completed in the next few days, we will send new notices out for when the Planning Commission would review it. I do not know that that would be on November 2nd, which is your next
Okay.
meeting, or not. So if the action tonight would be to continue it indefinitely, which would cause us to renotice it when it is ready to go again.
Okay, then should we go ahead and take comments from the public at this time if they so choose?
I mean, since there isn't an actual proposal that I can say exactly what's going on, if you take comment tonight, they would still be able to comment again in the future. So it's up to you, because we're going to renotice this as a new public
Okay.
hearing.
The reason I asked is I know there was a couple here that was here last time.
So if someone wants to speak and you
Okay.
want to take that input, you can, but they would also be able to provide input at the next hearing when it's noticed,
Okay,
which is different than what we said last time, which was,
yes,
it was only one hearing.
okay. Is the applicant here tonight?
The applicant is not here.
Not here, okay. With that then, if anybody would, and from the public, I'll open the public forum. If anybody would like to speak on this item now, or if you'd rather wait till such time as we do speak or talk about this before the commission. Okay, come on forward.
To this.
Give it to Natalie up
Podium
here.
up here.
there. Okay, great, thanks. So I'm Pamela Jones. My property backs up to what will be zoned here. And we have several ponds in the area, and I would just like for consideration that there be some, I mean, we have blue herons, mallards, all kinds of wildlife in the area. And it would be nice to preserve that to some degree. So I understand it's zoned for housing and things, but if there was some green belt area up against where the ponds are or something that would allow more wildlife to continue in the area, and I think it would be good for the town overall. So just for your consideration as you look at the plan as
Okay.
it's developed.
Oh, thank you. Could you have the form?
Sure. Sorry.
And your statement will be part of the public record of this meeting. So is there anybody else in the audience that would like to speak on this subject? Seeing none, then we'll continue the forum indefinitely. Do we need a motion for that?
Yeah, please.
Okay. But anybody like to make a motion regarding extending it indefinitely?
At this time, I'd like to make a motion that the public hearing for the rezone master plan for property generally located at southwest corner of George Washington Carver Avenue and Cameron School Road, the Bluffs at Dankbar Farm, to be continued indefinitely, and new notices be set out when it becomes an actual item.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Okay, moving on to the next item. Public hearing on the preliminary plat for 3210 Cedar Lane, the Ansley subdivision.
Good evening. The subject property is highlighted before you. It's on the south side of town. It's approximately 58.7 acres. It was rezoned from agricultural to floating suburban residential low density with a planned unit development overlay. I realize most of you weren't here back in April when we reviewed this, but it came before the Planning Commission in April and was approved by the council in May. The preliminary plat includes 102. This is the master plan. 122 residential lots and one commercial lot, which is the pink one in the bottom there, which is east. All but 5 of those 122 lots, the ones in brown, will be townhome lots. Everything else will be single family. There will also be a mix of this is from the master plan, or sorry, from the preliminary plat, mix of private alleys and private drives and private green spaces as well, mixed throughout the property. The property is taking access from Cedar Lane in several places, and will also be taking access from Aurora to the north and from Domani, the development that is to the northeast there. Future Cedar Lane will be extended as well, approximately 1,000 feet, paved and extension of utilities. There are future extensions, street stubs over to the east. There's one. And there is another. The subdivision ordinance does require that the developer, as part of the development, extend all streets and utilities. Cedar Lane is being extended to where you can see there where it intersects with Rothway Road. The subdivision ordinance does require it to be extended all the way down to the south of the property. The applicant is requesting a waiver for that additional 1,500 feet, and staff does support that waiver. The properties, go back to the aerial here. The property to the west and to the southeast there are either owned by Iowa State University or an Iowa State University affiliated organization. And we do not anticipate that those properties will be developing anytime soon. Staff does recommend alternative one, that the Planning Commission recommend approval with the waiver.
Does anybody on the commission have a question for the city?
So they're not planning on doing that southern triangle at all,
I'm not sure what you meant by doing it.
building out?
It's going to be green space. This is,
And there are no plans in the future to do a build out on it.
it's going to be green space. That bottom
This
portion.
is the plan. This is the street arrangement. This is the lotting pattern for that southernmost tip of the site.
And I think that's the way it was when they were here last year. Yeah, that was going to be open space. Are there any other questions?
Can you go out to the full plat one that you had just a few slides back? Yeah, let's leave that one up.
Would the applicant like to speak?
Greg Broussard with Bolton and Mink, 1519 Baltimore Road. Just wanted to thank you for the great presentation, Benjamin. It's been a very long process to get here. We're excited to finally get here and get in front of planning and zoning, and continues to be what you saw when we did our rezoning. More just refinement with staff as we worked through the preliminary plat on utilities, roads, added in some additional trails and items just routed through the site to make sure all the connectivity worked. Otherwise, it's the same thing you've seen the last time we were before you as well.
Good. Or does anybody have any questions for the applicant?
I think it's a really cool project. I love that on the east side of the parcel, there's the Tedesco Trail, I think it is.
Yep.
Do you guys have any plans to incorporate some sort of connection within this development to the Tedesco Trail?
Yeah, so there are a couple of connection points. Benjamin's got it there on the top. So what you see there, there's kind of the U shape that goes towards the darker black line. That's where the trail is. That's a potential future road connection to go east, but then also there's a sidewalk connection there into the trail. And we have been working with Astoria County Conservation and Mike Cox in regards to those trail connections and working around the trail and making sure that we're going to be restoring that back to what there is today or better as we work in that area.
Are there any other questions for the applicant? Thank you. Is there anybody from the audience that would like to make public comment at this time?
I just have questions.
Yeah, come on up.
And she needs to fill out a form.
Oh,
She's got the.
Form goes to her.
yep.
No, you're good.
I was literally unpacking my boxes at my house today where I just moved next door to this whole development. So I know nothing about it. But my big concern is that I moved away from Ames in 2012 to do some agricultural things. And I just bought a property in Ames so that I could come back and do some agricultural things here. My property is zoned agriculture. Does that change in this?
We don't know where you live.
I'm sorry, I live 3312 Cedar Lane.
Oh, you're on Cedar.
It's
There.
it's surrounded in the this part right here.
Okay.
That zoning is still agricultural.
And that's not on this committee changing.
That's not part of the development.
Okay. That was my biggest concern. The rest of the concerns, I think I can see by the map.
But that does not mean that it won't be, something won't happen there either. Later on.
So to be fair, we're not, as the city, rezoning anyone's property in this area. This is at the request of this property owner to do this. So there is no intent by the city to move ahead and rezone anybody on Cedar Lane at this time to anything other than what they are today.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other comments from the public? Seeing none, I'll close the public comment period. Is there any further discussion on the subject by the commission?
Well, I guess I just had one other question, if I can ask it of staff. I was just wondering about the waiver. So that reasoning for the waiver for extending utilities, in this case, the adjacent property is not planning to be developed anytime in the future. Has that rationale been used at any time to approve a waiver of that provision? Or is this the first time, I guess, that that's been used?
I would say if that was the only rationale, we wouldn't, as staff, be supporting it because that's led to bad decisions in the past for the city. I think it's the combination of circumstances around ISU land ownership that are really the driving force here. They're clearly in communication with ISU over many years about this land. They have no intent of selling it for development. The right-of-way dedication at least allows for that, if it was necessary in the future, to happen that way. I mean, for ISU to sell this, really the ISU 40 acres, it's right across the street from the property, would be the first one to sell and develop, and they would have access to road improvements and utilities there. And if they needed to go south into additional land from there, it could still happen. And the same if we went east, which we do want to see go east towards the Roth property. Again, there would be access to utilities and streets there. So it seems that in this case, due to the unique geography of the site with that extended point that doesn't really have development potential and the ISU ownership around the site, we could get to that it's just, I think we're under the decision of that it's just premature to require some kind of investment in infrastructure like that. So we're still reserving that ability for it to happen with how they're dedicating things. The other option would have been to plat it as an outlot and to have the developer put cash security on file with us and hold it indefinitely for that.
Very long.
Since staff had no time horizon of when this might be useful to do that, we said you should probably just apply for a full waiver rather than secure it, which we would probably normally do, except for in this case. Like I said, I think there's just some circumstances here that are unique. Most of the city doesn't have this ISU block of land surrounding it. But I don't think it's been justified like this before.
Thank you.
And there's going to be access to that green space on the tip of the triangle through the housings, right?
Well, they have a little notch right off of the loop road that they'll be able to get into that space as private homeowner association space. And then there's the county trail running along the east side of it as well.
And the applicants, the homeowners association will be responsible for the care and upkeep of it.
Yes, it's not public space.
Yeah, if I remember right from when they were here before, that little notch there, it'd be foot access. There wouldn't be a trail or anything there. It'd be just foot access onto that property.
Right. I believe in the PUD master plan, no specific improvement was shown in the triangle at the south end, right?
No specific improvement. The applicant in discussions has indicated that they would like to see it, a lot of it to be grassland, possibly a dog park down there or a community garden as well, are some of the ideas that have been discussed, but none of them is specifically required.
So any open space use of that, staff could approve there. Anything that's more than an open space use would probably have to be looked at as whether it's an amendment to the PUD itself. But programming of that space as an open space amenity is allowed under the PUD.
And they're still planning on the commercial development.
The north side, yeah, they're platting that lot to be for that purpose. Yeah.
Well, it seems like every meeting I get something out of order. I should have offered the applicant one more time to make concluding remarks if you have any. Okay. Are there any other questions? If seeing none, would anybody like to either further discuss or make some sort of motion to either approve or disapprove it?
Well, if there's no other discussion, I'd move for alternative one, that the city council approve the preliminary plat for the Ansley subdivision located at 3210 Cedar Lane with the waiver to the extension of Cedar Lane and water and wastewater utilities with the Cedar Lane right-of-way.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. Motion's approved. That brings us down to commission comments. Does anybody have any comments?
Anything planned for next meeting?
I think we gave you a tentative agenda. There's possibly items. Again, it's possible that the Bluffs could be back, but I don't know that for sure.
Any other comments? Staff comments?
I don't have anything to add tonight.
Okay. Is there anything else for the good of the order? Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.